Okay. Okay, so today we're going to start Amar Mar on Chav Gimel Amud Beis. I don't know how many lines that is. 20 lines down.
Yeah.
Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. It's just of our learning. Beis Hamikdash immediately. Purim Sameach, everyone. We're learning in the schus of Hava Golda Abbas Baruch Binyamin. And whoever needs Refuah Shlema, Shav Refuah Shlema. All those good things for the Yidden. Amar Mar. So one of the things that we mentioned, we quoted a brisa before. We quoted the brisa because we wanted to talk about the bitten fish. Remember that? We wanted the shape of the cut of the meat and all of that. So in that brisa, it also mentioned Chabashal Yayin, Vishal Shemen, Vishal Tvua, Vishal Grigas, Vishal Zaysim. You have barrels of wine, oil, of grain, of dried figs, of olives, and that's what you find. So the rule is, you're allowed to keep it. Now, the problem with that is that we have a Mishnah that's coming up, today's daf, which we're probably not going to get to. It says, for Tanan, we have a Mishnah that says, Kadi Yama Kadi Shemen Chayv Lahachris. You have to announce it. But those are opposites. You're allowed to keep it means that you don't have to announce it. Here it says you have to announce it. So it's a contradiction between the Mishnah and the Brisa. Talking about barrels. If you find,
jug.
Yeah, well, jugs are barrels.
I learned to know jugs here.
Jugs, you're right. It means jugs. You're right. We're assuming though it would be the same halacha, jugs and barrels. Amar Rab Zeira, Amar Rav. You're going to learn in Haminiyah, if you do the third paragraph of Baba Kama. There's a command that says Hainu Kad, Hainu Chavas. Jugs and that sometimes the words are interchangeable, but nevertheless, it doesn't. It's the same matter with the same concept. The Rab Zeira says in the name of Rav Masnisin Berashim. The mission that says they have to return it. That's talking about because see what happened is they would make the barrels. What they would do is the wine would be ready in either Shvat or Nisan time. Sometime, I don't know why Shvat, Nisan, why not other Nisan, but sometime between Shvat and Nisan, the wine would be ready. I guess they would squeeze the grapes probably right away in Tishrei, and then they would a few months later the wine would be ready. Now, what happens is they would open up the barrel and then they would taste it to see if it was good. After that, they would close it up and then they would take it to sell. So, but they first would have to taste it. So what would happen is, here it's talking about Barashim, where it was opened up and then sealed. And it was sealed, so then that seal has a sign on it. The seal has a sign on it, so that's why it's considered a siman. Gemara says, okay, so you answered up for the Mishnah, but what about the Brisa? Mechal the Brisa b'pasuach. What are you telling me? That the Brisa is talking about where it's open? Oh, coffee? Oh. Tempting. What was that? You remember that advertisement for they had a picture of Adam and Eve was handing Adam an apple, and he says, "Very tempting, but doesn't come close to Colombian coffee."
That's a good one.
So if it's open, the Gemara is asking over here. Basically, you just threw it out. You threw it out if you throw. Of course, you're allowed to keep it if someone throws it out, right? Of course, you're allowed to keep it.
It's not lying.
Yeah. So 1 second. So why is it Aveda Midas? Because it's the insects and everything is going to go into it. Very good. So, but if that's the case, then it's considered like hefker. So Rav Aishia says that the matzif, talking about where it was covered but not sealed. So he wasn't throwing it out. It wasn't like the total absolute waste. It was covered, but it doesn't have the sign on it that would be considered a siman. Abaye says, say that both of them are actually sealed. Okay, both are sealed. Why is it not a siman? Why don't you have to return it in the brisa? It's not a question. It depends. If everyone else's barrels are also sealed, then you don't have a siman there because everyone's barrels are also sealed. We're talking about where he had opened his barrels first, before everyone else, before the market was like really doing this. And he opened it first. So now he's an individual that has his barrel sealed up. It was really, I think they had to crack open the barrel. They would put clay, then they would open it up, and they would put some sort of tar over it afterwards to seal it to seal it back. Okay. So his was unique, and that's why in the Mishnah, that's why you have to return it. He had Rabbi Yaakov Barabba, just like Rabbi Yaakov Barabba, Ashka Chavisa de Chamra, la'achar shniftcha eitzros. He found a barrel of wine, but after the eitzros, means the warehouses were open. That means it's already time for the sale. It's already open for sale. And what happened? Also, comes to Abaye. Amalei still called an afshach. You can keep it. Must have been kosher wine, right? Boy, mine Rav Bibi, Rav Nachman. Rav Bibi asked Rav Nachman a question. It says like this. Oh wow, beautiful.
I got the idea of the applesauce
From
in the jar.
oh, isn't that nice?
Jars.
Oh wow.
It's
Wow. Okay. Okay. This is real food, shalach manas. Yeah, the shalach manas isn't real food. Okay. Okay, very nice. So, Rav Bibi, asked Rav Nachman, how do you say it, Shalom? Bibi or baby? Bibi. Rav Bibi? That's what they told me in school also. Rav Bibi asked Rav Nachman, is makim considered a siman? We mentioned this before, where what would happen is the finder would announce who lost an item in this place. That's what we explained according to Rashi. Who lost an item in this place, and then the person would say the item that I lost was a what's it called? This and that. In this case, maybe it was wine or something. So is that considered a siman? Amalei tanisua. We have it in a brayso. Matzach v'shel yayin v'shel shemen v'shel tuah v'shel greg v'shel zeisim v'shel shalai. It's not considered a siman. You find something, even though there's no siman on it yet. If you would say that makim is a siman, that the place is a siman, lichri is makim. Why don't you just announce the place? So, Rav Zvid explains. Yeah, what are we dealing with? The raksa denara. You want a cup of coffee? Okay. This Hillel made me a cup of coffee, but I'm not going to drink it. So it's raksa. I could have done shalach manas here with the sugar and the.
Yeah, give him some peanuts.
Raksa denara. We're talking about, how do they translate raksa denara? It's the edge of the river. So the point is that it's really by the port. So it's by the port, where there's loads of barrels there. So what he's going to say? Anyone lose something by the port? They'll say wine barrels, because that's what they have by the port. But okay. So really, makim is a siman. Really, it would be a siman. Only thing is, over here, it's not a siman, because that's where it always is, right? Amar Rav Mari says, my time, Amar Rabban Raksa Denara Le'avi siman. What's the reason why by the edge of the river, right? Edge of the river, it's not considered a siman. Damrina Le, because we say to him, the fact that you lost the barrel there, other people also left their barrels there. That's where the barrels are. because they take them from the off the boats and they wherever the wine comes from. Ikadamri. There are those that say. Amar Rav Mari, that Rav Mari said differently. Rav Mari said, my time Amar Rabbana. What's the reason that the rabbi said Makim lai havi simin? That it's Makim is not considered simin. Apparently, the difference between those that say and the first one is that how specific the place is, the location is that the person's giving. According to the Ikad Amri, even if it's a very specific location, Rav Mari still says it's not a good siman. The other people could have left it there. Who Gavra was a person, the Ashkach Kufra Beima Tzarta, that he found pitch or tar at the press. Is that Beima Tzarta? Is that a wine press or olive press? A wine press. Also, the Rav comes to Rav. Amalei Zilshkol and Afshach, you can keep it. Chazidavakum Machasim. Machasim is an interesting word. He saw that he was hesitating. Amalei Zilpleg Lechia Brei Minei. If you're hesitating, I'm so sure about the halacha that you can even give some of it to my son Chia. So, Lema Kasava Rav Makom Le'avi Siman. Obviously, Rav must hold that even the pitch doesn't have a siman, but maybe the location would be a siman. Amar Rabba Abba Mishum Yish Bailim Naguba the Chazud Kadchul Bei Chilfi. Is that cowebs?
It has thorns.
Oh, thorns? Really?
Thorns out of dust.
This one says weeds.
Weeds.
The
It
idea
was
is
already
things were
growing. Things already were growing on it, so that's why that's already yish because it's been so long that grass. There's grass growing on it.
Thorns, weeds. What else can?
I thought it would have been like cowebs or something.
What's the word?
Filthy. I see Rashi says something in Old French is gadlo ala. I don't know what that Old French is, but anyway. Ortia, what do you think Ortia is? Okay. Reb Shimon ben Elazar Chulu. Okay, in the Mishnah we had Reb Shimon ben Elazar's opinion. Shimon ben Elazar said that Kol Klei on Puria. Reb Shimon ben Elazar is a student of Reb Meir. And he says, Kol Klei on Puria in Chayav L'Hachris. Any clay on Puria, you don't have to announce. But you're allowed to keep it. Well, my on Puria, what is this on Puria? I'm Rav Yudah, I'm Shmuel. Rav Yudah says the name of Shmuel.
Weeds.
Oh. Yes, I see that. Asavim. And the creme filthy. Yeah.
Another one.
I think that's what it means in French too. Ocht.
Tell me that again. In French, it's what?
I think ocht in Portuguese and French it means like grass from the ground. Asavim, yeah.
Oh wow, very good.
There you go. Wow.
We got Rashi's word in French translated. So Daniel gave us the translation.
Well, what's it?
Orta is grass or weeds. Okay. So Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that it's Kelim Chadashim Shlei Savatanayin. It's actually what this means is that it's the compound word. On Puria is Ein Pairaya, Rashi says. It's a right on Puria Ein Pairaya. There's no proof, there's no sign in it because it's so new. You can't tell. The person won't be able to tell that it's his because it's brand new. Hey Chidami. What's the case? Yes, Pusim Kilisavatan my Mahavi. Less Pusim Kilisavatan my Mahavi. Problematic statement in the Mishnah. It says if you don't have, if it's brand new, so then you can keep it. Right? Problem is there a siman or is there not a siman? If there's a siman, so who cares if it's new? But he has the siman on it. And if there's no siman, so what's the difference if you can read? There's no siman, right? There's no, everything has to do with, is there a distinguishable mark? So the Gemara answer is no. It gives us this new concept. Really, there is no sign. And would you be able to return it to someone that you trust by him just saying that I recognize that it's mine, even though I don't have a identifiable mark on it?
What if the vessel is one of a kind? Like the first.
No, so then that would be a good simon. Oh, so very good. Very good. So who would you give it to a person like that? Who would you give it to? Moshe, he gets it from you or your wife?
What did you just say?
He told me that what the Gemara is going to tell me. What's the Gemara? Okay, so the rule is like this: that savatana ayin nafkamina ladu tzivim merabanu tiyasini. You can return it to a yeshiva student or a Torah sage, just because he recognizes it, even though he doesn't have an actual sign. Now, how does he recognize it? Because he used it a bunch of times. It feels right when he puts it on. It feels like his jacket, certain things. It just feels like this is mine, even though you can't say exactly how you feel that.
Or he knows the certain marks.
Yeah, but then he would be able to say that there's a spill from coffee on my
It says
Tvias Ayin. Oh, you think Tvias Ayin? Uh-huh.
In those days, they didn't have, they had custom-made clothes. I mean, so we put it on and said, oh, this feels like mine because mama's felt just right. And we didn't go in the store to take this off.
Right.
That's my guess of what it is.
So if it's Savatan Ayin Kimle Begavai Madrinanle. If his eye has been satisfied by it, that means he's looked at it for a long time, then we'll return it to him. But if it's not new, like him, we can't return it to him. So that's interesting. Which also means that the guy can just keep it right away. What happens if there's no simon on something and and it's not new, but there's no simon on it? It's a perfectly good condition item. It's not. So if the Talmud Chacham is going to show up, then you're going to have to give it back to him, even though there's no simon. But if there's no, that's right. Now, if the Talmud Chacham doesn't show up, someone else, you don't have to return it. But what about the item? Are you allowed to just keep it? Are you allowed to use it, or do you have to wait for a Talmud Chacham to show up? If it's a Gemara, so then maybe you have to wait. But if it's I don't know, a bowl or something. Okay. Damar Rav Yehuda, Damar Shmuel. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, another statement we just had him before. There's 3 things that the rabbis actually will give a white lie. They won't say exactly the truth. First one is Maseches. That means if someone asks him if he learned a certain Masechta, he could say no. Now the Taisus asks for 1 second, he's supposed to answer right away. He says that's only if people want to know the halacha. But over here they're just testing him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to show off, like Rashi says. He's being humble. The second thing is Bepuria, is if he was together with his wife. Rashi says that it's not tznius, so he can change. Now Taisus says that that's a very uncommon question, and so rather Taisus says that what it means is they asked him how come he didn't come to shul. If he was a balkari, how come he wasn't in the base medrash? And he could say something else. He could say I wasn't feeling well or some other thing, and he doesn't have to say the truth. The Shpiza is if they asked him how his lodging was, his guest house, if he's going to say the truth, then everyone else is going to want to go there, and it's going to be hard on the host. So he doesn't say how good it is. Now, Taisus has this question.
Here goes my ranking, isn't it?
Oh no, that's because they're paying. That's because they're paying. Yeah, here it's probably without pay. How gracious they were. So there's a question of, because there's a Gemara Brachos that says that Oirech Toiv, a good guest says that everything that the host did was just for me. A bad guest says that they had to do that anyway, so I don't really have to thank them. They were probably doing it for themselves, so I don't know. good so he feels everything was for him. So why are we saying over here that this Talmud Chacham is going to change and say that they didn't do it for me, they didn't really receive me nicely, that they did it for themselves or whatever? He says that's talking about when you're dealing with people that are appropriate people, then you say that. But if it's other types of people, then you switch. You save the host from that guest or something. My nafkamina. What's the difference if these people, if the Talmud Chacham says, he doesn't say, if he changes, he doesn't change? Marzutra explains, if we're going to trust him to give back a lost object by him just claiming that he recognizes it. If we know that he would never say anything different except for these three things, then we would give it to him. And then we won't give it to him if he would ever say anything different. Marzutra, the pious, was stolen from him a silver cup, not from him, from his host was stolen a silver cup, right? In the Mendi and the Golem. Oh, really? I thought that how does it say in English? That from his host. In the Mendi and the Golem, they said that the host was saying, I've been mugged. So they said, did someone take your wallet? He says, no, someone took my mug. That's the Mendi and the Golem jokes. So Chaz Yalahu Bar Beirav, the Mashe Yade Venigna Beklima de Chavre. He sees this yeshiva student that was drying his hands on someone else's garment, coat. Amar, he says, hi, the Layichtas Layam, a mina de Chavre.
I heard he tied him up.
Oh, yeah, that's what it's going to say, yeah. So he says, it must be this guy that he's not careful about other people's money. So Kafti Vaidi, they tied him up and then he confessed. People confess sometimes after they're tied up. So, okay. So Tanya was studying a Brisa Maida, Reb Shimon ben Elazar. What is that supposed to be? Umayda. Was studying a Brisa, Reb Shimon ben Elazar agrees, but Kalim Chadashim Stetzavatanaim Shechayv Lahachas. Even though it's new, but if it's old enough that his eyes were satisfied on it, that means he was able to use it a few times. So he has to return it out. He has to call it out. Right. The following would be new vessels that the eyes did not satisfied on, that you don't have to call out. Okay. Goin, for example, bade. How do they translate bade? Maybe it's going to be some sort of branch. They say bade. Okay. Of needles. Bade machtin goes together.
Yeah.
So, okay.
With needles.
It
wouldn't bad mean just a cloth? So.
Yeah. But you'll see in a second. The Gemara is going to ask what it means. But then there's some sort of forks which are used for weaving, spinning forks. Yeah. Machrezes shel kadumais. How do they translate that? Strings of axes. I don't know. They would hang them on them. I don't know. Okay. All of these that they said, when are they allowed? Only if they were found one at a time. But if you found two of them, you'd have to announce it. The reason is because you can say how many were there. But if there's just one, then that's not a simon, because if you right? Once it's more than one, then you can already announce the minyan. How many were there? My body, what does body mean? It says shuchi. Shuchi, I think, means a branch. Rashi says branches of a tree. My karle body, why is it called body? Davar the tolube midi bad karle. Anything that hangs on something is called a bad. Yehudetnan, like it says in Sukkah, the Tan Hasam Allah echad bevad echad. There was one branch that has one leaf that's hanging on it. Allah echad, one leaf bevad echad on one stem. Okay, that's talking about the Aravas. Okay. Do you have a brand new piece in your Gemara? It's like is your Gemara like divided now into a new piece?
Yes.
Yeah. In the Reb Daniel, are you using the Quran?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have that squiggle on it. Then they have that funny thing. Oh yeah. Okay. Good. Okay, that makes sense. we get into now interesting discussion about the location of where something is lost and found, if that's going to make a difference. Yeah.
What to the garbage?
The garbage is coming up soon.
Garbage or the
So
water?
at the end is going to be the garbage. At the end of this page is the garbage.
Lots of lost and found there and see if their mamas see money there. That a young gun could be markers, you know, and I've been almost in the presence, though it's still cut. One day, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, I knew it.
The Chain Hayer Reb Shimon ben Elazar Reimer. Reb Shimon ben Elazar would also say, Reb Shimon ben Elazar is the student of Reb Meir, which you mentioned before. Hamatzel Menari, someone saved something from a lion, Menadoy from a bear, Menanamer from a leopard, Menabardalas from a, I don't know, Bardalas is bobcat, they told me in school. Menzuti Shalyam from a tide of the sea, Mishalisa Shalnar from the overflow of the river. Amaitze Bestratio Plata Gedela. It's like in a big square. Find something like in a very public area. Or any place where there's a lot of people there. And then you can keep it. What does it say? Because the owners gave up hope. Yeah. When I learned this in, I guess it was fifth grade. It was in Muncie. They said, Port Authority. Okay, it's not so pashut. We're going to see in the Gemara. It's not so pashut. If it has to be
that many.
If it has to be non-Jewish people, Jewish, we'll see. We'll see in a moment. Ibaylo, they asked the question. Kikam Reb Shimon ben Elazar. When Reb Shimon ben Elazar says that if there's a lot of people there, that you're allowed to keep it. Brave Kananim, Aval Brave Yisrael Loi. I don't feel Brave Yisrael Nami. Amar. Did he say it only when there's a lot of non-Jews there? Let's say Port Authority. Or did he say even when there's a lot of Jews there, 770? Right? Do you say automatically that he gave up? Imtim Talaimar, if you'll say, I feel a brave Yisrael Nami Amar, that you can keep anything that you find in 770. So even though obviously there's a simon on it, talking about there's a simon on it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter where it is.
There's a code, 770 on the combination.
No, it'd be even like if you leave your siddur in 770, even though it has your name in it, your phone number, it doesn't mean you're going to get it back.
They're not look open, but just have better chances that leave it in the port.
If you leave it in Port Authority, right? Actually, I don't know.
770. Do they
Who would need it in the Port Authority? Someone finds it because of the number.
770? Do they put like a label on the spine or something like they do?
Yeah. If you're going to say that they argue even when there's a lot of Jewish people there, like 770, do the rabbis disagree about this? Do the rabbis say that you have to announce it? And if you say the rabbis say that you do have to announce it, then obviously they would argue if there's Jewish people there that's where they would argue. But maybe they agree when it's in Port Authority, when it's in a non-Jewish area. Maybe they would agree to that. There's a lot of questions over here. We don't have it clear. We don't know what he's talking about. We don't know what the rabbis are arguing. When would they be arguing? And if they are arguing, I feel a brave Kananim, even when there are majority, when there's a lot of non-Jewish people, halacha k'maisi and halacha k'maisi. It gets even more complex. Are we going to paskin like Reb Shimon ben Elazar or not? And if they say we do paskin like him, dafka brave kananim, is that only when there's a lot of non-Jewish people in Port Authority? I feel a brave Yisrael, or even should we paskin like Reb Shimon ben Elazar even in 770? You find something over there. Tashima, so come and listen. If someone finds money, we think the money over here is all wrapped up. Yeah. If it's spread out, then it doesn't matter. We're talking about that the money's wrapped up in a cloth, right? Is that what it says? Yeah. Normally you would have to announce it, but over here, because it's in Bati Kinesias, Bati Midrashas, and gathering places, and in shuls, and in the base medrash, Any place where there's a lot of people there, you can keep it. And because they gave up hope. Now, because there's so many people there. Now the Gemara explains, who says that that a lot of people make a difference? That's Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Shamet mina, we learned from this, that even if there's a lot of Jewish people, you're still allowed to keep it. That's because it says shuls, it says Beis Medrash.
Since it says shuls, wouldn't it?
Doesn't mean you can't keep it.
It's like the story you said of returning someone's
When it's talis.
It doesn't mean you can't keep it. I'm sorry?
I lost my hitas one time in Uman, Motzei Rosh Hashanah. And like I went to the bathroom and came back, somebody had taken it. Oh, forget, you're never gonna find it. I looked around, I found it. Somebody had taken it. I guess they could have taken it. I guess.
My wife's grandfather left his talis and tefillin in 770. It disappeared. It was on a certain bench. It disappeared. 18 years later.
No way.
He sat on that bench. The talis was exactly in the place where he left it. He has no explanation for it.
Wow.
No explanation for it.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, they say it's a sign that your tshuva was accepted, right? That's
Wow.
It's such a deny to us.
Oh, that people would keep it?
Really, honestly, I'm surprised our senses. It's saying can't trust it in the place for Ninja because it ain't gonna be there. But by the outsiders, no problem. That's
No, that's not what it's saying. It's saying that how out of luck he left it. We're not saying that by the Goyim they're going to return it, by the Yidden they won't. That's not what we're saying. If he's giving up hope by the Yidden, then for sure he's giving up hope by the Goyim. That's for sure. The question is, he gives up hope by the Goyim, does that mean he is also giving up hope by the Yidden? It's not working the other way. It's less of a reason in that it's got it back from. Yeah, where's that Gemara? It's not in the Metzia.
Great luck is that bad. He pulled out a sword and said, "Hey, give him back a wallet, or you know what will happen."
Is that what happened? Was it?
Yeah,
was it robbed? Was it stolen from him, or he lost it?
From what I remember, he lost it. But
the glasses? What happened with the glasses? Very good. You know what he's saying? They said about a guy that
Can I take you
the guy
home?
lost
You
his,
talk to me while
like
I
this night, the guy lost his glasses. So he said, "Who took my glasses?" So someone that needs glasses probably has his own glasses. Someone that doesn't need glasses, so why do you take my glasses? So it must be someone that needs glasses, but he misplaced his glasses. Now, where would he misplace his glasses? Sometimes people put it up over here, so he feels up over here, and his glasses were there. So it's so good I learned Gemara. So okay, so who's the one that says that we follow the if there's a lot of people there? So that's Reb Shimon ben Elazar. So we see even in Bereb Yisrael Nami, because we said that it's talking about a shoulder. The Gemara answers, and we're not talking about where it's wrapped up. We're talking about where there's no siman, it's spread out. There's no siman. How are you supposed to know whose it is? Then if it's spread out, there might just have to be a lot of people there. Even if there's not a lot of people there, you still can't. You don't have to return it because there's no siman on it. We're talking about that it is wrapped up, and this should be a siman. What are we dealing with? We're dealing with gathering places of non-Jews. We said Bati Knesias. We thought that was shuls. It's not shuls. I have Knanim. Bati Midrasha is Ma'ikal Meimar. But what about the Beis Medrash? That's not a Knanim. That's Knesias. Just means a gathering. Bati Midrasha Stidan the Asru Knanim. We're talking about our type of Beis Medrash that they're that are base medrash, but there are non-Jews there because they're security guards. If that's the case, and but the Knesset is Nami, it could be security guards in the shul as well. Yeah, shuls have the security guards back then. Just like today, we have today until the Kiddush. Once the Kiddush starts, the security guys go.
Are you planning to finish before the 7 o'clock meeting?
I'm gonna go another 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
47.
Tashma, come and listen. What's about Veda? If he finds, this is talking about a city that has Jewish people and non-Jewish people in the city. What's about Veda? Rav Yisrael chayv lahachos. If it's majority Jewish people, then you have to announce him. Rav Kananim. If it's not, if it's majority of non-Jewish people, you don't have to announce. Man shamalei damarzin basuruba. Who would say that the majority or a lot of people is going to make a difference? Who is that? That's Reb Shimon Elazar. So shamet mina kikam Reb Shimon Elazar brave Kananim. Okay, we seem to have an answer. Shimon Elazar only said that you can keep it. A lot of people there. That's when there's non-Jewish people in part authority. In 770, no, of a brave Yisrael, you can't keep it. Gemara says, no, Hamani Rabbanani, maybe the opposite, not the opposite, but maybe it's not Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Maybe Reb Shimon ben Elazar would say you're even allowed to keep it. You find it in 770. This is the rabbi's view. But this would answer a question, because this would tell us that Reb Shimon ben Elazar, he held. I'm sorry, if this is a Rabbanan, then this would say that the Rabbanan agreed to Reb Shimon ben Elazar by Reb Kananim. That if there's a lot of non-Jewish people there, you don't have to announce it. Alaylam Reb Shimon ben Elazar, rather, let's go back. It is Reb Shimon ben Elazar. We're trying to avoid answering questions here. Vafila b'Reb Yisrael nami. And even if it's Reb Yisrael, so 1 second. So Reb Yisrael, it's Reb Yisrael. So then why over here did we say Reb Yisrael? You have to announce it. Talking about where it was hidden, and that's why you have to announce it. If it was taman, if it was hidden, so what's he doing? Why is he taking it? But find something in the garbage, but it's covered over. It doesn't really mean a garbage. It means like a bathroom, an outdoor bathroom. So if it's covered over, don't touch it. Megula, if it's open, you take it and announce it. So the Gemara says, well, so obviously you shouldn't be taking it if it's covered over. Gemara says, Kadamar of Papa, it was talking about a bathroom that's usually not emptied, but now it was going to be emptied. So so if it would be emptied regularly, so then that would be an Aveda Midas.
But a king was coming to their town.
Oh, so they were going to clean it out. Very good. So that's why he was going to take it, but since it was covered, so it was considered a if there's Jewish people there, this comes out interesting. If there's Jewish people there, majority is Jewish, then he has to announce it. If the majority is not Jewish, then he doesn't announce it. And this is the opinion of Reb Shimon ben Elazar. No, I feel Rav Yisrael Nami. Really, Rav Yisrael, you also don't announce it. If it's right, even by Rav Yisrael, Reb Shimon ben Elazar would say. But here it's a special case because it was hidden. If you want, we could say different. Say Lailam Rabbanan. Really, it's the opinion of the rabbis. And it's not Taman, of course. Miktani Hein Shalai. Did we say, this is an interesting answer, did we say that he can keep it? He said, Ein Chayav Lahachris Ktani. It says he doesn't have to announce it. So what does he do with it? It says, V'yaniach v'yesi Yisrael v'yabas Simon v'shakel. Even though he doesn't have to announce it by Rav Kananim, by when the majority of people are not Jewish, but that doesn't mean that he's allowed to keep it. Usually when it says you're allowed to keep it, it says Harei Elu Shalai, these are yours. Usually when you have to announce it, it says Chayav Lahachris. Over here it says Einai Chayav Lahachris. And it didn't give me the regular conclusion. Tashma, come listen. Ravasi says, it's a very interesting Gemara. If you find a barrel of wine in the city that the majority is not Jewish, so you're allowed to keep it, but you're not allowed to drink it. You're allowed to keep it for monetary reasons, but you're not allowed to drink it because it's not kosher. This is where it gets interesting. A Jewish person comes and gives you a sign on it The person that found it can now drink it. 1 second, if you trust him, so then he should give it back to him. Come on, who holds this? This is Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Reb Shimon ben Elazar that says that if there's majority of people, that you're allowed to keep. If there's a lot of people, you can keep it. Shema mina kikam Reb Shimon ben Elazar brave Canaanim. Obviously, Reb Shimon ben Elazar says when it's mostly non-Jewish, of Reb Yisrael light. But maybe if it's Jewish, then not. You would have to return it. Where it says Laila me malach Reb Shimon ben Elazar fil brave Yisrael nami kamar. Shimon ben Elazar says even when it's majority of Jewish people, also you're allowed to keep it. Ravasi's example over here that he's giving is because he holds like Reb Shimon ben Elazar only by Rav Kananim. Gemara asks the question that we're thinking with well, no, the Gemara's not asking that. The Gemara's asking another question. If you're allowed to keep it, but you're not allowed to drink it, so what's the point? What do you do with it? Says Ravashi says that it's for the barrel. The barrel you can still use, even though the barrel would be straight. But I guess you can kasher it or something. Who gavra? Let's see. Can I go further? Yeah. Right. Right. No, he's allowed to keep it because a lot of people there are not Jewish. But to be found out now that it's kosher because there was a Jewish guy that gave a sign for it. Right. 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 Exactly. That's what he's allowed to keep it. And what are you worried about? That
then after.
No, so no. Now the Gemara says, well, let's say it would be Jewish. What would Reb Shimon ben Elazar say there? Majority of people are Jewish. Maybe he would say the same thing. It's only Ravasi didn't hold the Reb Shimon ben Elazar in that case, but it could be Reb Shimon ben Elazar himself would say the same thing. The guy here, he found 4 coins that was wrapped up in a cloth. It was in the river, like the $20 bill. Dr. Stein. Also, Rav Yehuda comes to Rav Yehuda. He says, "Go and announce it." Everyone knows now. But this is the way. What are you saying? I have to announce it. But this is washed in a tide. It washed up in the. You're allowed to keep that. The Shani Narbeiran, given the Miskalim Yayish over there in Narbeiran, this type of river, they had over there nets that would catch the fish. And so people think they're going to be able to get it back. So it's not Miyayish. But Ruba Kananim Nino, but they're mostly not Jewish. So you should be allowed to keep it. Feel brave Kananim. Obviously, we don't pass like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Even when a lot of people, not Jewish people, are there in Port Authority, you still have to announce it. We don't go like Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Shani Narbein, the Yisrael Shachal of Yisrael Karele. Who's the guys that are tying the nets and who's the guys that are cleaning up? That's all Jewish people. But yeah, there's a lot of non-Jewish people. But the guys that are going to find it and the guys that are going to lose it, that's going to be the Jews. Given the Yisrael Shachal and Yisrael Nafal, since the Jewish people are the ones that. What is Sachro? What does that say? I mean, oh, yeah, they dam it. That's what it's Sachro. And they're the ones that also open the dam. Salemi Yayach. Rav Yehuda Havishakal was about Shmuel B'Shuka the Beidaisa. Oh wow! Rabbi Yehuda was following Shmuel, and he was in the market, the cereal market, Cheerios. Amalei Matzakananiki Mahu. What would happen over here if I found the wallet? Amalei Hariel Shalai. You can keep it. Yisrael V'Nasim B'Simin Mahu. Let's say a Jewish person gives me a sign. Amalei Chayv L'Hachter. You have to return it to him. It says Tarti. How do you have both? They tell me keep it, and then I have to not don't say now. I have to return it. Amalei L'Fnim Asher Sadin. You have to do L'Fnim Asher Sadin. I forget where that Taisva says. The Gemara says that the reason why the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed or something was because people wouldn't return things. Immediately the entire they only followed the rule of the law. They didn't forget where it is somewhere over here.
Kanani gave this simmer, you can't return it.
You don't have to. This must be done. Is this donkeys or wine? Chamri. Donkeys. He found donkeys in the desert. He returned it to the owner even after 12 months. That was L'fnim Asher Sadin. Rava, it was beyond the law. Rava was following Rav Nachman in the tanner's market. Amalei b'shuk derabanan. Some say it was in the rabbi's market. I don't know what they sell there. Amalei kapatas. I'm sorry. They sell rabbis.
That's very interesting. It's as if to say that the churban don't happen because it wasn't considered.
Yeah, because he didn't.
Beyond.
Right. That's the Gemara. I think that's where it is. We'll come to it. Amalei matzah kananiki mao. What happens if you find the wallet over here? Amalei Ariel Shalai, you keep it. Oh, you still have enough simin mao. But let's say a Jewish person gives a sign. Amalei Ariel Shalai. He doesn't tell him that you have to return it. He says you can keep it. This is who is this? This is Rav Nachman. But the guy's screaming. He says not to. So he's screaming about stuff that you can't do anything about. Okay. There was this. This is an osprey. I think I remember that's what it was called. A bird. It's the daya is the name of the bird. The shakal bisr b'shuka v'shadi b'tzenisa de bar Marian. He took some meat from one place and he threw it into between the trees of Beit Bar Marian. So it's another place. So Asal Kami da Abaye comes to Abaye, Zil Shkol and Afshal Abaye says you can keep it. But Ruba Yisrael, the Yisrael, but the majority of Jewish people. Obviously, even when majority is Jewish people, you're still allowed to keep it. The Gemara says, no. Shani Daye, the Kasut Shal Yamdami. This is different because this is like the tide that takes things away that the person gives up. Rav says, what about Basar Shin Salam and Ayin? It wants meat that leaves you the eyes of the Jewish person. You're not allowed to eat that meat. It says Baimit Virayaya was talking about where the guy was watching the bird take it. Watching, it went over, so it was always being watched. Okay, let's leave it over here.
Yeah.
A vulture.